The biggest fear for retirees is running out of money. If you dive one level beneath that, one of the bigger concerns is sequence of return risk. Okay, the market has historically returned around 10% before inflation, but if you get low returns at the beginning of your retirement when you're making withdrawals, that can have a massive negative impact on your potential to run out of money. So I posed this question to Grok because I retired in 2019 and I have gotten a compounded annual growth rate return of 12%. Okay. Now I'm going to use some numbers that aren't perfectly accurate for me just to kind of give a typical scenario. So they aren't my actual numbers, but the 12% is actual. And I did retire in 2019. So I am going to ask today ChatGPT. The question is, do I need to worry about sequence of return risk? And if I don't, can I change my uh, asset allocation from like 80-20 or 70-30 to 80-20 to 90-10 to 100-0? Can I change it? So this is actually my second video on this. I'm going to release them on the same day. I asked this question to Grok and got a pretty good answer. And then I asked the exact same question, cut and paste, to ChatGPT. I liked ChatGPT's detail better. Okay. So it's a little better detail, but this just shows my process. So I'll look at something in ChatGPT, look at something in Grok, and then I'll put that into my Boldin software. So I got three independent looks at my plan to give me guidance going forward. It gives me great confidence to spend, great confidence to make major decisions like a big purchase or even to choose to retire. So I'm demonstrating these tools for you. And the way you need to think about AI, I've studied this a little bit, is you need to treat it like you've got a PhD in finance across the table from you. What questions would you ask? It should be a dialogue, not the perfect question. Okay. But I'm only covering one little question here, but if I was not making a video, I would have several questions with this. So this will give you an example of the output, and hopefully you can see how you can highly customize this to you, because nobody's exactly the same. Everybody's risk profile is different. Everybody's money is different. Everybody's spending is different. Everybody's investments are different. So, generic YouTube advice is, almost worthless for the average individual unless it teaches them how to study. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to do right here. Let's jump right in. I'm going to share my screen. So this is just ChatGPT. You can see over here in the left, this is the screen. So I am married, 61, and my wife is 59. Both of us are retired. I retired in 2019 with $2 million. Again, that's not an accurate number, but it has grown by 12% compounded annual growth rate. Hey, chat, the inflation since 2019 and use 2.75 going forward. I need to spend 4% of my $2 million that I originally retired with in 19. So assume that I need to spend 4% that's going forward, adjusted up for inflation, 4% roll, right? So I got two questions. Do I really need to worry about sequence of return risk going forward starting in 2026? Show data and resources or sources. And number two, I am currently 80-20 in stocks. Can I increase that to 90-10 or even 100-0? What are the pros and cons of doing that? So good question. Although this is not my exact scenario, these are thoughts that are on my mind. Sequence of return risk. When can I put that in a rear view mirror? I think is appropriate timing for me right now. And, assuming that I would keep my expenses down a little bit because I've gotten these outsized returns and I keep my expenses down, Maybe I could put that fear behind me. Now, some of you may choose to, have a follow-up question. Why not just spend more money? And you could do that, but that's not currently what I'm thinking right now. So let's check out the answer. Now, this took 42 seconds to come up with this analysis. So this is exact. I didn't customize this. This is the first answer it gave me. The short answer up front is yes. Sequence of return risk still matters, Joe. But your situation is much less vulnerable today than it was in 19 because your portfolio has grown far beyond the 4% withdrawal rate. This lowers the chance of a bad market going to ruin your plan, but you can consider moving to higher equity, 90-10, or even 100-0 if you're comfortable with the volatility, the emotions of the event, not the math, the emotions. But to do it deliberately with a buffer of cash and a plan for spending flexibility is what they recommend. Below is the math and a small scenario test. Okay, so the key numbers. Starting portfolio in 19 was $2 million. The growth assumption is 12% compounded annual growth rate for 6 years, and that makes your current portfolio just under $4 million, so 3.947645. Your starting withdrawal rate was 4% of $2 million or $80,000, inflated by 2.75% a year after that. So expenses in 19 were $80,000, expenses in 2025, $91,000, expenses 2026, $94,000. Your effective withdrawal rate in 2026 is going to be 2.38%. So although you started with 4% withdrawal rate in 2019, because the portfolio grew so quickly, it dropped down to 2.4. Question number one, do I need to worry about sequence of return risk? Short answer, yes, but much less than if your withdrawal rate was around 4%. Sequence of return risk, chance of poor behavior, poor returns early in retirement, depleting the portfolio. You all know what that is. Why your risk is reduced today. The critical metric for sequence of return risk is withdrawals as a percent of your total portfolio. Since 2.4% is a lot lower than the classic 4%, the lower withdrawal rate means same sequence of negative returns has a much smaller impact. Okay, and here's a referenced article. Okay, see that article pop up there? And to illustrate this with a scenario, again, I didn't ask ChatGPT to do any of this. This is the detail that they give. So it automatically ran a 10-year illustrative example of this. So with my portfolios, a one with going forward from 2026, a steady 7% return. After 10 years, you got 6.3 million, even with those withdrawals. So, and then scenario B, a 30% reduction in the first year, then a 7% fixed withdrawal, and you only go down to 3.6 million, even with the withdrawal. And then if you have a positive 30% in the first year, then 7% in the remaining 9 years, your ending balance is almost $8 million. So the takeaway, a very bad year reduces the balance, but since you only have a 2.4% withdrawal rate, it does not have a catastrophic impact on my nest egg. Okay. If you'd like, I can run it actually suggests follow-up questions. I can run a tailored Monte Carlo or historical sequence simulation for 30 years if you want. I mean, just outstanding. And then the second question is, can I increase my equities from 80-20 to 90-10 or 100% zero? The short answer is yes, but there's going to be more volatility. Can you handle it emotionally? Pros of higher equity share: higher expected long-term returns. With lower withdrawal rate, you can tolerate more volatility and still be safe on long horizons. The cons: greater risk of short-term volatility and the human intervention that we can make. If you experience a deep downturn, can you emotionally handle that and maybe have some flexible spending? Practical suggestions for you. Don't flip to 100% equities all at once unless you're comfortable with the, big drawdowns. Hold cash or short-term bonds as a buffer, maybe 2 to 4 years. Okay. Consider a bond ladder or short-term fixed income to cover near-term withdrawals, to just be that buffer against that 30–40% drop down. Try to keep spending flexible. What can you push out in your spending? Can you push out that new car if the market's down 30–40% is an example. Tax income diversity. Try to have diversity of income like Social Security, pension income, part-time income that reduces the stress on your portfolio, providing all of your needs. And rebalance discipline. So rebalance, have a discipline of how you're going to move money around so that you don't have emotional selling during crashes. A thought experiment for you with the current numbers. Moving, you have about $4 million when your withdrawal is 94,000, moving to 90/10 likely increases expected returns while still leaving you comfortable in a safety zone if you keep a 2 to 4 year cash buffer. Moving to 100% expected return maximizes volatility. It's fine if you have a buffer to cover withdrawals for a few years. So they're really pushing me to have some kind of buffer still for sequence of return risk, of a 2 to 4 years. Sources and further reading. Okay. Just amazing how you can customize stop sharing. To me, I'm just amazed at how you can customize and get data to support, where you want to take your portfolio. These are not my numbers, as I've said a couple times, but it's on my mind. Hey, sequence of return risk. When can I put that behind me and stop stressing about that? I'm not trying to maximize returns, but the fear of running out of money, I think, is with everybody. You never know, but it'd be nice to put that behind me. It sounds like I can't quite put it behind me, but I should feel very confident because that has allowed me to maintain my lifestyle at a lower withdrawal. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. And then it has some actions that you can take. Hey, reduce down to maybe 2 to 4 years of fixed to buffer. And as you know from my videos, I'm closer to 10. Maybe I need to cut that in half because of the returns that I've gotten in the first 6 years. So it's not important that your scenario is at all like mine. What's important is looking at ChatGPT and Grok as an aid to your financial plan, whether you're doing that with an advisor, you're doing that with a group of friends, or doing that on your own. I think, I really like having a retirement group, but having a ChatGPT buddy and a Grok buddy to help you get independent analysis of your plan, I think it's fantastic. So I got Grok, I got ChatGPT, I got my retirement group, I got Boldin Software, and I got Neil Fort Window, my advisor that's provided for me. That's a lot of independent resources looking at what I'm doing and giving me confidence to spend and confidence to sleep at night, confidence to make those big decisions like, can I retire now? Make sense? It's Joe Allen.